The sun filtered softly through the sheer curtains of their suburban home, casting a warm glow over the family's bustling morning routine. Anna Nguyen, a 41-year-old mother of 3, moved briskly through the kitchen, juggling breakfast preparations and last-minute school assignments. Her life was a well-orchestrated symphony of schedules, responsibilities, and endless devotion to her family. From the outside, it looked idyllic, like a postcard of the American dream. But beneath the surface, the foundation of her seemingly perfect life was beginning to crack. Her husband, David Tran, sat at the dining table, scrolling through his phone. He barely acknowledged the chaos around him as their youngest son, Lucas, spilled milk on the counter, and their teenage daughter, Mia, grumbled about a forgotten science project. "David, can you grab the paper towels?" Anna called, her tone light but tinged with exhaustion. David didn't look up. "David," she repeated, this time louder. "Huh? Oh, yeah, sure," he mumbled, standing up and grabbing the roll of paper towels with a distracted air. His face was blank, his mind elsewhere. It wasn't the first time Anna had noticed this change. Lately, David had seemed more distant, lost in a world she couldn't penetrate. As Anna wiped the counter, she glanced at her husband, trying to recall the last time they had truly connected. It wasn't as if their marriage had always been perfect, but there was a time when they laughed together, shared secrets, and leaned on each other during tough times. Now, David was like a shadow in their home, physically present but emotionally absent. Later that day, as Anna went about her usual chores, she decided to tidy up their bedroom. David had left early for work, claiming he had an important meeting. As she picked up the clothes he'd tossed carelessly on the floor, she noticed his phone on the nightstand, still connected to the charger. He must have forgotten it in his rush. Anna hesitated. She had never been the kind of wife who snooped through her husband's things. Their relationship was built on trust, or at least that's what she believed. But something gnawed at her, a whisper of doubt she couldn't ignore. Before she could stop herself, Anna picked up the phone. It lit up with a notification, a text message from an unfamiliar name. Lily, and her heart thudded in her chest as she opened the message. "Does your body smell so bad today? You can't let me massage you." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. Anna froze, rereading the message over and over, hoping she'd misunderstood. But there was no mistaking the intimate tone. Her hands trembled as she scrolled further, finding a thread of messages between David and this, Lily. Each exchange was filled with flirtation and longing, a side of David she hadn't seen in years. For the rest of the day, Anna moved through her routine in a daze. The laughter of her children, the hum of the washing machine, the scent of dinner simmering on the stove, none of it reached her. She was trapped in a vortex of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. That night, as they sat at the dinner table, Anna watched David closely. He was unusually cheerful, chatting with the kids about their day and cracking jokes. But to Anna, his laughter felt hollow. She wondered how he could sit there, acting as if nothing was wrong, while hiding such a devastating secret. As the kids cleared the table and headed to their rooms, Anna decided to test the waters. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed, and asked, "David, how was work today?" He glanced up, startled by her tone. It was fine. Busy. You know, busy with meetings?" she pressed, keeping her voice steady. "Yeah, lots of meetings," he replied, his eyes darting away. Anna didn't push further. She wasn't ready to confront him, not yet. She needed more time to process, to plan her next move. But as she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, she knew one thing for certain: their lives would never be the same. The chapter ends with Anna slipping out of bed while David sleeps soundly beside her. She retrieves his phone from the nightstand and takes screenshots of the incriminating messages. With each click, her resolve hardens. Whatever lies ahead, she knows she must face it head on, for herself and for her children. The cracks in their facade were growing wider, and soon, the entire structure would collapse. The morning light seeped through the curtains. But for Anna, it brought no comfort. She had spent the night tossing and turning, her mind replaying every word from the incriminating texts. Her usual morning routine felt mechanical as she prepared breakfast and packed lunches for the kids. David, oblivious to her turmoil, strolled into the kitchen, kissed her cheek absent-mindedly, and poured himself a cup of coffee. "Morning," he said cheerfully, his tone so normal it made Anna's stomach churn. How could he act so unbothered? So casual, after betraying her? "Morning," Anna replied curtly, not meeting his eyes. David didn't seem to notice. He was already scrolling through his phone, replying to emails, or so she assumed. For a moment, Anna wondered if Lily's name was flashing on his screen, hidden beneath the guise of work correspondence. After dropping the kids off at school, Anna parked her car in a nearby lot. Unable to go straight to work, her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as her thoughts raced. Every detail of their relationship now felt suspect. How long had this been going on? Was Lily the first? Or had there been others? She hated herself for doubting everything, for letting this discovery consume her. Anna reached for her phone and opened the screenshots she had taken the night before. She read through the messages again, her chest tightening with each line. It wasn't just the words that hurt, it was the realization that David had shared a level of intimacy with someone else that he had withheld from her for years. She considered calling a friend, someone she could confide in, but stopped herself. The thought of saying the words out loud, of admitting that her marriage was crumbling, felt too raw. Instead, she sat in silence, letting the storm within her rage. That evening, Anna decided to confront David. She knew she couldn't keep pretending everything was fine, not when the betrayal was eating away at her. After the kids went to bed, she found him in the living room, his attention fixed on a basketball game. "David, we need to talk," she said, her voice steady but firm. He glanced up, surprised. "What's up?" Anna took a deep breath, her heart pounding. "Who is Lily?" The color drained from David's face. For a moment, he looked as though he might deny everything, but the weight of her gaze held him in place. He shifted uncomfortably, running a hand through his hair. "She's just a friend," he said finally, his tone defensive. "A friend?" Anna's voice rose. "Friends don't send texts like this." She pulled out her phone and held it up, showing him the screenshots. David's eyes widened, and he quickly stood, his hands raised in a placating gesture. "Anna, it's not what it looks like." Don't," she interrupted, her voice shaking with anger. "Don't insult my intelligence. David, I've seen the messages. I know what's been going on." He opened his mouth to respond but closed it again, his expression a mix of guilt and frustration. "I never meant for you to find out," he muttered. The words stung, cutting deeper than any admission of guilt could have. "That's what you're sorry for?" Anna demanded. "That I found out? Not that you betrayed me?" David sighed heavily, sinking back onto the couch. "I didn't think it would go this far. I was lonely." "Anna, you've been so distant lately. So focused on the kids and work. Don't you dare put this on me," she snapped, her voice trembling with fury. "I have been holding this family together while you, what? Run off to massage Lily? Tell me, David, did you think about our children while you were with her? Did you think about me?" He didn't answer. The silence was deafening, and Anna felt a wave of despair crash over her. She had hoped, foolishly, that he would fight for her, for their family. Instead, he sat there, silent and defeated, unable to contain her anger and heartbreak. Anna did something she had never done before. She called David's mother. She knew it was a bold move, one that could backfire, but she needed someone to hear her pain, someone who could hold David accountable. "Anna?" Mrs. Tran's voice was warm but curious. It was unusual for her daughter-in-law to call so late. "I need to talk to you," Anna said, her voice shaking. "It's about David." There was a pause, followed by a concerned, "What happened?" Anna hesitated, unsure how to begin, but once the words started flowing, they wouldn't stop. She told Mrs. Tran everything, the messages, David's excuses, his betrayal. By the time she finished, she was sobbing, the weight of her pain finally released. Mrs. Tran was silent for a moment, and then her voice hardened. "I'll take care of this," she said firmly. "You don't deserve this. Anna, I'll talk to him." True to her word, Mrs. Tran called David the next morning. berating him for his actions. Anna overheard parts of the conversation, his protests, her stern reprimands. For a brief moment, Anna felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this would be the wake-up call he needed. In the days that followed, David made an effort to change. He woke up early to take the kids to school, helped with chores, and even offered to cook dinner, a rarity in their household. But for Anna, his actions felt hollow, like a performance rather than genuine remorse. The turning point came one evening when she caught him texting Lily again. This time, he didn't even try to hide it. The sight of him, sitting in their living room, phone in hand, shattered the fragile truce they had built. Anna confronted him again, her voice cold. "You promised me you'd stop." David looked up, guilt flashing across his face. "I was just telling her it's over." "Do you think I'm stupid?" she shot back. "I've had enough. David, if you want her, go to her. But don't expect me to sit here and wait for you to make up your mind." Anna didn't sleep that night. Her confrontation with David had left her drained. Yet a fire burned within her, a determination to take back control of her life. She decided she couldn't wait for David to change or for his half-hearted promises to mean something. If she wanted clarity, she had to confront the other woman. The next morning, while David was at work and the kids were at school, Anna sat at the dining table, staring at her phone. Her fingers hovered over the screen as she debated whether to make the call. Part of her was terrified. What if Lily denied everything? Or worse, what if she confirmed the affair in graphic detail? Finally, she pressed the call button. The phone rang twice before a soft, hesitant voice answered. "Hello? Is this Lily?" Anna asked, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "Yes. Who's this?" Anna took a deep breath. "This is Anna, David's wife." There was a long pause, followed by a nervous laugh. "Oh, I didn't expect this." "I'm sure you didn't," Anna replied, her tone icy. "But I think it's time we had a conversation." Woman to woman, Lily hesitated. "Look, Anna, I don't know what David told you, but there's nothing going on between us. We're just friends." Anna clenched her jaw, anger surging through her. "Friends? Friends don't send messages asking for massages. Friends don't call each other at 3 in the morning. Do you really expect me to believe that?" Lily's tone turned defensive. "I can't control what David says or does. If you have a problem, take it up with him." "I already have," Anna shot back. "But now I'm taking it up with you. Whatever this is, it ends now. If you think you can waltz into my life and destroy my family, think again." Lily laughed. A cold, mocking sound. "Destroy your family? Honey, if your family is falling apart, that's not on me. Maybe you should take a good look at yourself." The words hit Anna like a slap. She gripped the edge of the table, willing herself to stay calm. "Is that what David told you? That I'm the problem? I don't need David to tell me anything." Lily replied smugly. "It's obvious you don't make him happy. If you did, he wouldn't be looking elsewhere." Anna's vision blurred with tears of rage. "If you want him so badly, take him," she said, her voice trembling. "But don't expect me to go quietly. And don't think for a second that you'll win. Men like David don't stay faithful to anyone, not even their mistresses." Lily fell silent, and Anna hung up before the other woman could respond. Her hands were shaking, but she felt a strange sense of power. For the first time in weeks, she had taken control of the narrative. That evening, Anna confronted David once again, recounting her conversation with Lily. She watched as his face turned pale, then flushed with anger. "You called her?" he asked incredulously. "Yes, I did," Anna replied. "And you know what she said? She blamed me for your affair. She said I'm the reason you're unhappy." David groaned, running his hands through his hair. "Anna, I never wanted you to talk to her. She's not important." "Not important?" Anna's voice rose. "She's important enough for you to lie to me. To betray me. To jeopardize our family. Don't you dare minimize what you've done." David didn't respond. He sat down heavily on the couch, his head in his hands. For the first time, Anna saw something that resembled genuine remorse. But it wasn't enough to soften her resolve. Unable to deal with David's silence, Anna called his mother again. This time, her voice was firmer, her pain more controlled. She explained the latest developments, including her confrontation with Lily. Mrs. Tran was livid. "I can't believe he would do this to you," she said. "I'll talk to him again. He needs to understand what he's risking." True to her word, Mrs. Tran confronted David that same evening. Anna listened from the kitchen as her mother-in-law berated him in Vietnamese. Her voice sharp and unyielding. "You are a father and a husband," Mrs. Tran snapped. "Do you think this behavior is acceptable? Do you want to lose your family? Because that's where this is headed." David's responses were muffled, but Anna didn't care to hear his excuses. She was tired of his justifications, his half-apologies. For her, the only thing that mattered was what came next. In the days that followed, David made another effort to change. He deleted Lily's number, promised to be more present, and even suggested marriage counseling. But Anna's heart wasn't ready to forgive. She couldn't shake the image of those texts. The sound of Lily's mocking voice. One evening, as they sat together in silence, Anna spoke up. "David, do you think we can ever go back to the way things were?" He looked at her, his expression pained. "I don't know, but I want to try." Anna nodded, her face calm. "I'll try too, but you need to understand something. If you ever do this again, I won't fight for us. I won't call your mother. I won't confront the other woman. I'll just leave." David didn't argue. He nodded, his face solemn. For the first time, Anna felt like he truly understood the gravity of what he had done. That night, as Anna lay in bed, she felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep her moving forward. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew one thing: she wouldn't let this define her. Whether her marriage survived or not, she would come out stronger. The days that followed felt like walking on a tightrope for Anna. David's attempts at reconciliation were evident, but they were small gestures, bringing her coffee in the morning, spending more time with the kids, or offering to help around the house. However, for Anna, these acts felt like band-aids on a wound that needed much deeper healing. David eventually convinced Anna to attend marriage counseling. The idea filled her with a mix of hope and skepticism. On the day of their first session, they sat stiffly in the waiting room, avoiding eye contact. When the counselor, a middle-aged woman with a calm demeanor, ushered them in, Anna felt an odd sense of relief. Here, finally, was a space where the truth could be unpacked. "Let's start with why you're here," the counselor began, her voice gentle. Anna hesitated before speaking. "My husband had an affair," she said, her voice firm but quiet. "I found out through his phone." David flinched but didn't interrupt. He looked at the counselor, then at Anna. "I made a mistake. A terrible mistake," he admitted. "I was lonely. I felt like Anna and I were drifting apart. And I turned to someone else." Anna's heart ached at his words. "And what about me?" she asked, turning to him. "Do you think I wasn't lonely? Do you think I didn't feel the distance? But I stayed. I stayed because I believed in us." The counselor nodded, giving space for the emotions to flow. "Anna, how did David's actions make you feel?" The question unlocked the floodgate. Anna spoke about the betrayal, the sleepless nights, and the constant questioning of her own worth. By the end of the session, her voice was hoarse, and her eyes were swollen. But she felt lighter. For the first time, she had said everything she needed to say. The counseling sessions became a weekly ritual, offering a space for Anna and David to communicate without anger dominating the conversation. Slowly, Anna began to see glimpses of the man she had fallen in love with, the way he listened intently, the way he acknowledged her pain without making excuses. But outside the counselor's office, things were far from perfect. Trust, Anna realized, wasn't something that could be rebuilt overnight. She found herself second-guessing his every move, questioning every late text or unexplained absence. One evening, she caught herself scrolling through his phone while he was in the shower. The guilt was immediate, but so was the fear. She realized that even if David was trying to change, she might never feel secure again. Anna's unease grew until she made a bold decision. She needed to see Lily face to face. One last time. Not to argue, not to fight, but to find closure. Through a mutual acquaintance, Anna learned that Lily worked at a nail salon on the other side of town. One afternoon, She walked into the brightly lit space, her heart pounding. Lily looked up from her station, her face registering shock. "Anna," she said, her voice wary. "What are you doing here?" "I'm not here to cause a scene," Anna said, her tone calm but resolute. "I just need to ask you one thing." Lily nodded slowly. "What? Did you ever love him?" Lily blinked, clearly taken aback by the question. She looked down at her hands, then back at Anna. "No," she admitted. "It was convenient. I guess I liked the attention." Anna nodded, a strange sense of relief washing over her. "Thank you," she said simply. Before turning to leave, she didn't need to hear anything else. Whatever David had shared with Lily, it wasn't love, and somehow, that made the betrayal feel less personal. That evening, Anna sat in her bedroom, reflecting on the events of the past few months. She thought about David's affair, her confrontation with Lily, and the counseling sessions. For the first time, she felt like she had clarity. She realized that her life didn't have to revolve around David's mistakes or even their marriage. She had spent so many years prioritizing her family that she had forgotten about herself, her dreams, her happiness, her sense of identity. It was time to change that. Anna began carving out time for herself. She signed up for a painting class she had always wanted to take, reconnected with old friends, and started journaling her thoughts and emotions. The more she focused on her own growth, the less power the affair held over her. David noticed the change. "You seem different," he said one evening as they sat together on the porch. "I am," Anna replied, her voice steady. "I'm learning how to be happy again. With or without you." The words hung in the air, and for the first time, David seemed to grasp the full extent of what he had risked losing. "I want to be part of that happiness," he said quietly. Anna didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked out at the horizon, where the sun was setting in a blaze of orange and gold. "We'll see," she said finally, "one day at a time." The weeks turned into months. And while Anna and David continued their counseling sessions, Anna made it clear that she wouldn't settle for anything less than genuine change. She refused to accept half-hearted efforts or empty promises. For her, the focus was no longer on fixing the marriage but on finding her own strength. Their relationship remained a work in progress, fragile but not entirely broken. And though the future was uncertain, Anna felt ready to face it, knowing she had reclaimed her power and her voice. Anna's transformation wasn't instantaneous, nor was it linear. Some days, she felt strong, confident in her decision to put herself first. Other days, the weight of her marriage, her responsibilities, and her lingering mistrust in David felt overwhelming. But she had made a promise to herself. No matter what, she would keep moving forward. Mornings, once a frantic whirlwind of breakfasts and school drop-offs, became a time for reflection. After the kids left for school, Anna would sit by the window with her coffee, journaling her thoughts. She wrote about everything, her anger, her sadness, her moments of joy, and even her hopes for the future. The act of putting pen to paper felt cathartic, a way to reclaim the narrative of her life. One entry stood out. "I thought losing David's love would break me. But now I see. It wasn't his love I needed, it was my own. For too long, I've been living for others. It's time I start living for me." She started each day with this affirmation, a small but powerful reminder of her new path. To his credit, David didn't give up. He attended every counseling session without complaint. Even when they dredged up painful truths, he apologized, not just for the affair, but for years of taking Anna for granted. "I know I've failed you," he said one evening, as they sat on the porch after dinner. "I see now how much you've done for this family. For me, I should have told you I was struggling instead of looking for comfort somewhere else." Anna listened, her expression unreadable. "It's not enough to say it, David," she replied. "You have to show it. And not just for me, for yourself. For the kids." "I will," he promised. "I'll prove it to you." But Anna knew better than to rely on promises alone. She had heard them before. This time, she resolved to watch his actions, not his words. Anna's painting class became her sanctuary. At first, she felt out of place, surrounded by younger students with bold ideas and confident brushstrokes. But as the weeks passed, She found herself embracing the process, letting go of perfection and simply enjoying the act of creating. Her instructor, a warm and encouraging woman named Maria, noticed her progress. "You have a real gift for capturing emotion," Maria said one day, gesturing to Anna's latest piece, a vibrant landscape of a stormy sea. Anna smiled, feeling a flicker of pride. "I guess I have a lot of emotions to work through." Maria chuckled. "Well, whatever you're doing, keep at it. You're finding your voice." Those words stayed with Anna. Finding her voice. It was what she had been striving for all along. One afternoon, Anna received a message from her college friend, Sarah, whom she hadn't seen in years. Sarah had heard about Anna's struggles through a mutual acquaintance and wanted to check in. "I'm so sorry for everything you've been through," Sarah wrote. "If you ever want to talk or grab coffee, I'm here." Anna hesitated at first. She wasn't sure she was ready to open up to someone outside her immediate circle. But something about Sarah's message felt genuine, and Anna decided to take the chance. Their meeting at a cozy cafe felt like stepping into another world. Sarah's warmth and humor reminded Anna of the person she used to be before the weight of life had dulled her spark. They laughed, reminisced, and talked about everything from parenting struggles to career ambitions. By the time they parted ways, Anna felt lighter. She realized how much she had missed having meaningful friendships and vowed to nurture them moving forward. One evening, as Anna was tucking Lucas into bed, he looked up at her with wide, curious eyes. "Mom, are you happy?" he asked. The question caught her off guard. "Why do you ask, sweetheart?" Lucas shrugged. "You just seem different. Like, not sad anymore." Anna's heart ached at his words. She stroked his hair gently. "I'm working on being happy," she said, "and that's important for all of us. Don't you think?" Lucas nodded, satisfied with her answer. As Anna kissed him goodnight, she felt a sense of clarity. Her happiness wasn't just for herself, it was for her children, too. They deserved a mother who was strong, fulfilled, and whole. David's commitment was put to the test one afternoon when Anna received a call from a friend who had seen him talking to a woman at a cafe. The old Anna might have panicked, assuming the worst, but this time, she chose to confront him calmly. When David returned home that evening, Anna asked, "Who were you meeting at the cafe today?" David's eyes widened, and for a moment, she saw fear flash across his face. But then he exhaled and said, "It was my coworker, Emily. We were discussing a project." Anna studied his face, searching for any sign of deceit. To her surprise, she found none. "Next time, just let me know," she said. "If we're going to rebuild this, I need honesty." David nodded earnestly. "I understand. I'll do better." It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a step in the right direction. Months turned into a year, and life began to take on a new rhythm. Anna and David continued their counseling sessions, but the focus shifted from repairing their marriage to understanding themselves as individuals. They learned to communicate openly, to express their needs and fears without judgment. For Anna, the journey was as much about finding herself as it was about rebuilding her marriage. She no longer felt defined by her role as a wife or mother. She was an artist, a friend, a woman with dreams and aspirations of her own. On their anniversary, David surprised Anna with a small gathering of friends and family. He raised a toast, his voice filled with emotion. To Anna, he said, "The strongest, most amazing woman I know. Thank you for giving me a chance to be better, for myself and for us." As Anna looked around the room, at the people who had supported her through her darkest days, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. Her life wasn't perfect, but it was hers, and she was proud of how far she had come. As the seasons changed, so did Anna's perspective on life. The wounds from David's betrayal, while not completely healed, had begun to scar over, forming a tougher, wiser version of herself. She had come to realize that forgiveness wasn't something she gave for David's sake. It was something she granted herself to move forward. One morning, while browsing through her emails, Anna noticed a message from the local art gallery. They were holding an open call for a community art exhibit, encouraging submissions from amateur and professional artists alike. Anna hesitated. She had been painting consistently since her classes began, but the idea of showcasing her work felt daunting. "Mom, you should do it," Mia said when Anna mentioned it over dinner that night. "Your paintings are amazing." David chimed in, nodding. "She's right. You've got real talent. You should share it." Encouraged by her family's support, Anna decided to take the plunge. She selected 3 of her best pieces: a stormy seascape, a vibrant sunset, and a self-portrait that she'd painted during one of her most emotional nights, and submitted them. A week later, she received a call. All 3 had been accepted. The night of the exhibit was a whirlwind of emotions. As Anna walked through the gallery, seeing her work displayed alongside other artists, she felt a surge of pride. Friends and acquaintances stopped by to admire her pieces, offering words of encouragement that left her beaming. At one point, she overheard 2 women discussing her self-portrait. "There's so much emotion in this," one of them said. "You can feel her pain, but also her strength." Anna felt a lump rise in her throat. That painting had been her therapy, a way to channel everything she couldn't put into words. Hearing others connect with it was a validation she hadn't known she needed. David stood by her side the entire evening, watching her glow with pride. "I've always known you were amazing," he said quietly, "but seeing you like this, it's like seeing you for the first time." Anna smiled, appreciating his support but knowing her success was her own. For the first time, she felt like more than just a wife or a mother. She was Anna, a woman with her own story to tell. Though their relationship was improving, Anna remained cautious. She had learned the importance of boundaries and made it clear to David that their progress was contingent on mutual respect and honesty. One evening, David approached her with his phone in hand. "I wanted to show you something," he said. "Emily, my coworker, texted me about an after-hours meeting next week. I wanted you to know up front." Anna appreciated his transparency. "Thank you," she said. "That means a lot." But she didn't stop there. "David, I want to be clear. I don't need constant updates on your interactions with other women. What I need is to feel secure in our relationship. That's something only time and consistent actions can provide." David nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "I'll keep working on it," he promised. Anna's renewed connection with Sarah blossomed into a supportive friendship. The 2 began meeting regularly for coffee, swapping stories about their lives and encouraging each other's pursuits. "Have you ever thought about teaching art?" Sarah asked one day. "You're so passionate about it. And I bet you'd be great with students." The idea intrigued Anna. While she wasn't ready to commit to a full-time role, she decided to explore part-time opportunities. Soon, she found herself teaching a weekend painting class at a community center. The experience was both challenging and rewarding, as she helped others discover their own creative voices. Mia, Lucas, and their middle child, Ethan, had quietly observed the changes in their parents' relationship. Though the tension had eased, the kids occasionally voiced their fears. "Are you and Dad going to stay together?" Ethan asked one evening as Anna tucked him in. Anna hesitated before answering. "We're working on it," she said honestly. "But no matter what happens, we'll always be here for you. That will never change." Her answer seemed to comfort him. Though Anna knew the question would resurface as time went on, she resolved to keep the lines of communication open, ensuring her children felt secure, no matter the outcome. As part of their efforts to reconnect as a family, David suggested a vacation, a week-long trip to a lakeside cabin. At first, Anna was hesitant, unsure if she was ready for so much uninterrupted time together. But the kids were thrilled at the idea, and she eventually agreed. The trip turned out to be a surprising success. They spent their days hiking, fishing, and roasting marshmallows by the fire. One evening, as the family gathered on the dock to watch the sunset, Anna felt a rare moment of peace. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't thinking about the past or worrying about the future. She was simply present. David, sitting beside her, squeezed her hand gently. "Thank you for giving us this chance," he said. Anna didn't reply immediately. Instead, she looked out at the water, where the fading sunlight danced on the surface. "We'll see where it goes," she said softly. And for now, that was enough. As the months turned into a year, Anna found herself embracing her new life with a sense of purpose. She continued painting and teaching, nurturing friendships, and focusing on her children's happiness. Her relationship with David, while still a work in progress, was stronger than it had been in years. One day, while organizing her studio, she came across her journal from the early days of the affair. Flipping through the pages, she marveled at how far she had come. Her final entry read, "I am not defined by what happened to me. I am defined by how I chose to rise from it. And rise, I will." Anna smiled, closing the journal and placing it on a shelf. Her story wasn't over, but she was ready for whatever came next. A year had passed since the storm that shook Anna's life. It was a bright spring morning, and Anna stood in her art studio, gazing at the newest piece on her easel, a serene depiction of a sunrise over a calm sea. It wasn't the fiery, turbulent kind she had painted during her darkest days. This one was gentle, full of hope and possibility. The studio was no longer just a hobby space. After the art exhibit, Anna had received several requests for commissions, and her part-time teaching had grown into a steady schedule. Her once private passion had blossomed into a fulfilling second career. David knocked lightly on the studio door before stepping inside. "That's beautiful," he said, nodding toward the painting. Anna turned to him, her smile soft but guarded. "Thanks. It's different from my usual." David leaned against the doorway, watching her for a moment. "I just wanted to let you know. I'm heading to my session." The individual therapy sessions David had started months ago were one of the many ways he had been working to rebuild himself. He no longer made grand gestures or sweeping promises. Instead, he focused on the small, consistent actions that mattered most, being honest, present, and accountable. "I'll see you tonight," Anna said, her tone warm but measured. She appreciated his efforts, but their relationship was still a delicate balance of trust and boundaries. That evening, the family gathered for dinner. A rare moment where all three kids were home. Mia, now in her senior year of high school, shared her excitement about college applications. Ethan, the middle child, talked animatedly about his soccer team's recent win, while Lucas, the youngest, proudly showed off a drawing he had made. As Anna watched her children, she felt a swell of pride and gratitude. Despite the challenges they had faced as a family, the kids were thriving, and so was she. After dinner, as the kids cleared the table, David suggested taking a walk. Anna hesitated but agreed. They strolled down the quiet neighborhood streets, the cool evening air brushing against their skin. "You know," David began, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking about how far we've come." "How far you've come?" Anna glanced at him, her expression thoughtful. "It hasn't been easy." "I know," he said, "but I'm grateful you gave me the chance to be better, for myself and for us. I don't take that for granted." Anna stopped walking and turned to face him. "David, I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. For the kids. And because I wasn't ready to give up without seeing if we could grow from this." David nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "And do you think we have?" Anna looked up at the stars, taking a moment before answering. "I think we're learning. And that's a start." Back home, Anna returned to her studio while David settled into the living room with a book. She stood before the sunrise painting, adding the final touches to the glowing horizon. Her thoughts drifted to the journey that had brought her here, the pain, the growth, and the resilience she had discovered within herself. Her marriage wasn't the same as it had been before the betrayal. It was no longer a fairy tale she clung to, but a real, messy, imperfect relationship that required work from both sides. She didn't know if they would always stay together, but she had found peace in knowing that her happiness wasn't tied solely to their future. Anna stepped back to admire the painting. It was complete, a reflection of her own journey. The calm sea, the rising sun, the infinite possibilities of a new day. As she cleaned her brushes and prepared to call it a night, Anna felt a quiet sense of triumph. She had faced her darkest moments, emerged stronger, and reclaimed her life. Whatever lay ahead, she knew she was ready. And for Anna, that was enough.